Close your eyes. You wake in a cold, narrow bed. The sheets are thin. The mattress is straw. It's still dark. You hear nothing but the faint creak of old wood and the low hum of something far above. A pipe groans. A bell waits to ring. You know exactly what time it is. It's time to get up. The candle beside your bed is nearly burned out. You strike a match. The flame flickers against damp stone walls. Around you, others are waking too, just as tired, just as silent. A few coughs, the shuffle of boots. No one speaks. There's no time. This is the servants' wing. Far below, the grand rooms of the manor. Hidden behind doors you're never meant to open. You pull on your uniform. Stiff collar, heavy apron, worn shoes. There's soot under your nails from yesterday. It never fully washes out. You glance at your hands and wonder, when was the last time they were still? The air is cold. It always is. Your name doesn't matter here. Not really. You are one of many. Replaceable. Quiet. Clean. And yet, vital. Without you, nothing upstairs would shine. The silver wouldn't gleam. The fires wouldn't warm. The lady's corset wouldn't be laced. And the master's boots wouldn't be polished. The house would fall out of rhythm. And so, you rise. You're about to step into one full day in a Victorian manor. Not as a guest, not as the master, but as a servant. Unseen, unheard, always moving. The bell rings, and your day begins. This is not the history they teach in school. This is the slow, hidden, exhausting history lived behind velvet curtains and carved oak doors. This is what it was like to serve, to wake before the world, to sleep long after it ended, and to carry the weight of a house on your back, with no one ever knowing your name. In this video, you'll walk step by step through a real day in the life of a Victorian servant. You'll light the fires before dawn, polish the family's silver, prepare meals you'll never taste, and vanish behind doors before the guests arrive. You'll learn why people chose this life and how few ever escaped it. You'll see the upstairs world through the eyes of those who lived below it. And by the end, you might understand why they endured it and why you, most likely, wouldn't survive a single day. But don't worry. You're not really there. You're safe, warm, resting. This is boring history for sleep, where the past whispers gently, where the forgotten voices come back to life, just for a moment, where we trade noise for stillness and let the stories carry us somewhere quiet. If you enjoy history that doesn't shout, history that drifts slowly like dust in sunlight, then you're in the right place. So please, make yourself comfortable. Let the blankets settle. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. We release calming, faceless journeys into the past, made for tired minds, curious hearts, and quiet nights. Now take a deep breath, because the house is waking and you have work to do. Beneath the manor, the floor is stone, cold even in summer. In winter, it bites through your stockings like ice. The walls are thick, rough, and gray. There's no wallpaper here, no painted trim, no soft carpets, no art, just rows of iron-framed beds, each identical, each narrow, and each occupied by someone just like you. Someone who wakes not because they've rested enough, but because the bells will ring soon. It's still black outside. Not quite night, not yet morning. A strange in-between hour where time moves quietly and slowly. The manor above is still, like a giant animal asleep in its den. You feel the air around you, damp and heavy, somewhere far down the corridor. You hear a match strike, then another. Someone lighting the hallway lamps. The soft hiss of flame against wick. There are no windows here. The only light comes from candles and oil lamps, which flicker unevenly, throwing soft shadows across the bare walls. Your uniform is folded at the foot of the bed, exactly where you left it the night before. It must always be neat. There's no room for personal clutter. No keepsakes, no tokens, no mess. There is only space for efficiency. You swing your legs over the bed. The floor is freezing. You wince. Everyone does. You don't speak. No one does. Speech is for the upper floors. Here, sound is rationed like sugar. Movements are precise, quiet, quick. You begin to dress. First, the petticoat or undershirt, then the main layer, coarse, stiff, already worn from many washes. The uniform must be spotless. Wrinkles are unacceptable. Buttons must shine. Laces tied neatly. Every detail matters. Because later, when the mistress glances at you in passing, you will be judged without words. The air smells faintly of soap and old coal smoke, the scent of labor, clinging to the stone. As you tie your apron or adjust your cap, you hear the floor above groan slightly, a shift in the beams, the weight of the house pressing downward. The manor is alive in its own way. It breathes. It settles. It remembers. There's a rustle of movement now. Boots laced, hair pinned, sleeves rolled. One of the footmen walks past your open door, carrying a bucket of kindling. No eye contact. He's already late. You pass by others as you step out into the corridor. Some of them you know by name. Others you simply recognize by their shoes or their gait. You don't greet them. There's no time for that. The fires upstairs need to be lit before the family stirs. You clutch your apron tight as you move toward the stairwell that leads up, not to the drawing room or ballroom, but to the back of the house, through the servants' entrance, the door no guest will ever see. As you walk, your boots echo lightly against the floor. The corridor is narrow, barely wide enough for two to pass. The walls are lined with shelves, brooms, polish, rags, ledgers, brass keys on hooks. Every item has a place. Every task has a rhythm. No one questions why. There is only the way things are. In a small alcove, off the hall, a scullery maid is already working. Her sleeves are pushed up, hands deep in cold water, scrubbing yesterday's pans. She's not more than 15. Her knuckles are red and raw. She doesn't look up. You glance at the ceiling. It's hard to imagine what's happening just 2 floors above. Luxurious beds draped in velvet, portraits, chandeliers, the ticking of long case clocks. But all of that still sleeps. For now, the house rests in silence, waiting for the machinery below to begin turning. This is the engine room, the heart of the manor, and you are one of its parts. The hierarchy below stairs is nearly as strict as the one above. The butler is king here. The housekeeper is queen. Senior maids and valets walk with more authority. The scullery maid and hall boy are at the bottom, seen as often too young, too weak, too easily replaced. There are charts on the wall listing duties and assignments, schedules broken into half-hour blocks. Your name is next to drawing room fire and breakfast bell. You know what that means. You'll climb the back staircase soon. With coal dust on your hands and matches in your pocket, you'll kneel on the cold tile and light the fire before the mistress opens her eyes. You walk past the servants' hall, a long, plain dining room with wooden benches and a single framed print on the wall. The air still smells faintly of last night's bread. The morning tea isn't brewed yet. That will come later, once the kitchen maids have finished chopping and stirring and whisking quietly in the dark. A small dog trots through the hallway, the family spaniel. He isn't supposed to be down here, but he sneaks in often. No one bothers him. He looks at you with sleepy eyes, then disappears into the pantry. Down another hallway, the laundry room is quiet for now. Later, it will thunder with steam and boil with water and cloth and soap, a place where linens go to be scalded white again. You're grateful you weren't assigned there today. Your hands are still cracked from the last time. You pass the bellboard, a large panel of wires and labels. Each room in the manor has a bell. When it rings, the corresponding number flutters. You must be ready. A single chime could mean anything. A forgotten handkerchief, a missing hairpin, a hot bath, and when the bell rings, you must appear quickly and wordlessly, as if summoned by magic. The manor requires constant care. Like a spoiled child, it demands attention in small ways. A wobbly table leg, a thread on the carpet, a scuff on the banister. The housekeeper will notice them all. And so you learn not to rest. Even now, before the sun rises, your mind runs through tasks. The bed linen that needs changing, the brass knobs to polish, the water jug to refill. You haven't even stepped upstairs yet, but your day has already begun. The cook passes you in the corridor. She's carrying a large basket of eggs and a list pinned to her sleeve. She nods once, tight-lipped. She's already been awake for an hour. She always is. The smell of flour follows behind her. You reach the end of the hall and stand before the narrow staircase that leads up. The stairs are wooden, steep, and creak no matter how softly you step. You adjust your apron one last time, tuck a loose strand of hair behind your ear, and then you begin to climb. Each step takes you closer to the world that will never truly be yours. A world you'll clean, decorate, and serve, but never belong to. You know its secrets. You've dusted its drawers, polished its letters, folded its silks, but they will never know yours. Not your real voice, not your favorite memory, not what you dream about when your head finally rests. You move like a shadow. The house is still asleep, and you are already working. The first tasks of the day, from cold coals to silent polish. How the house begins to breathe. The staircase is narrow, meant only for you. Servants use the back stairs, the plain stairs, the ones hidden behind paneling and tucked away in corners. They are steep and creaky. They demand silence. You know which steps groan too loudly and which ones take your weight without a sound. You learned that quickly. You reach the landing, and already the air is different, warmer, Not warm exactly, but less bitter. The floorboards here are polished, the walls papered. You see the corner of a grand rug, the edge of a gleaming cabinet. You are now at the edge of the world above, the one with chandeliers and oil portraits and piano music. But right now, all of it is asleep. You move quickly toward the drawing room. The handle on the door is cold, brass, perfectly round. You open it gently. The room is dark and hushed. Shadows stretch long across the floor, across the velvet armchairs and the heavy drapes. This room smells like lavender polish and dust, like velvet that hasn't been touched since last evening. The fireplace is dead. No warmth, just gray ash and a few half-burned logs. You kneel before it and begin to clear the grate. You've done this so many times, you no longer look at your hands. First the ash pan, then the poker. You remove the cinders carefully, quietly, making as little noise as possible. Then you begin again. A fresh layer of kindling, twisted newspaper, small sticks, dry and sharp, then larger logs. You strike a match. The flame hisses, a little light, a little warmth, the sound of wood catching. You coax it to life, slowly. You don't get to sit by this fire. You don't get to enjoy its glow. You are simply its maker, one room down. You repeat this process again in the study, the library, the front sitting room. Some houses have 20 fires to light each morning. Some maids are responsible for all of them. Today, you have 6. Your hands are blackened already. You wipe them carefully before touching anything else. There are no smudges allowed on the doorknobs or chair legs. If you leave a mark, someone will see it. They always do. You move to the front hallway. The air is colder here. You kneel once more, polish in hand, and begin rubbing the brass boot scraper and the hinges of the front door. No one has asked you to, but it's what's expected. The family might go riding today. Visitors might come. Everything must gleam. You rise, stretch slightly, then stop yourself. Stretching looks lazy. Even a second of pause can be mistaken for idleness. Back in the servants' corridor, you pass another maid carrying a full kettle. Her steps are careful. The water must stay hot, not slosh. She's heading for the upstairs bedrooms to fill wash basins before the family rings. You step into the boot room, a small stone-floored chamber near the back entrance. Rows of shoes are lined up neatly. Riding boots, polished leather, house slippers, walking shoes. Some are already dusty from yesterday's garden stroll. Others are still damp from the rain. You sit on the stool and begin, one pair at a time. Scrub the mud, wipe, buff. Apply blacking, buff again. Shine. Check the heels. Smooth the laces. Set them perfectly in place. Left always to the left. Right to the right. Laces straight. Never knotted. There is no room for error. If the master finds a scratch, you'll hear of it. If his riding boots aren't ready in time, the butler will know why. And if the butler knows, so does the housekeeper. And if she knows, you'll pay for it. Perhaps with a warning. Perhaps with lost privileges. Perhaps with extra work that night. You've seen it happen. One girl forgot to fill a hot water bottle. Another left smudges on a silver button. Small mistakes. But in a world of perfection, small things echo loudly. You finish the last pair and stand. The morning is moving now. The house is beginning to breathe. You hear distant sounds, A floorboard creaks upstairs. A bell chimes once. The cook begins humming down the corridor. Another fire is catching. You pass into the kitchen. It's warmer here. The big range has been lit, and a soft red glow spreads across the floor. One of the maids is chopping parsley. Another is whisking eggs. A boy brings in coal for the oven. The smells are beginning. Bread, smoke, fresh milk. You help carry breakfast trays. Silver pots of tea, warm toast, eggs under domed lids, porridge, sugar cubes wrapped in muslin. The family eats in their rooms on most mornings. You'll deliver the trays, knock once, wait, then slip inside like a ghost. You'll never be invited to sit, never be offered a slice, but you'll make sure the toast is just crisp enough and the butter isn't melting too fast. You'll fluff the napkin and smooth the tray cloth. You'll place the tiny jar of jam to the right of the plate. And when you leave, you'll step backward so they never have to see your back. One of the footmen calls to you softly. He needs help in the dining room. The morning papers are out of order. The silver spoon is slightly crooked. You straighten it, fold the napkin, relight the candle. There's no thank you. He's already gone. You glance at the large clock above. The mantel. Not yet 7. You've been working for nearly 3 hours. There will be more shoes, more fire grates, more linen to press, floors to sweep, stairs to scrub, towels to fold, vases to refill, ashes to haul out. The rooms upstairs haven't even begun to stir. That comes soon. Then the rush begins. But for now, the house is almost ready. You smooth your apron, tuck in a loose strand of hair, and begin again, dressing the upper class. The upstairs corridor smells faintly of rose water and starch. You step lightly across the carpet. Your shoes don't squeak. They never squeak. The bell had rung 10 minutes ago. 2 short pulls from bedroom 2. That's her bell. Lady Margaret, she always rises at exactly 7. She expects her maid, you, at the door by 7:10. Never earlier. Never later. You knock once, gently. A pause. Then you hear her voice. Come in. You slip inside and close the door softly behind you. The room is still dim. Heavy curtains block the light. A lamp glows by the bed, its oil faint and flickering. She sits upright, already in her dressing gown, with her hair pinned roughly in a twist. She barely looks at you. You begin. First, the basin. Warm water, poured carefully from a ceramic jug. No splashes. You set it down on the washstand. Then lay out the towels. One for face, one for hands, one for drying. You bring the sponge, the comb, the ivory-handled brush. She washes while you turn your back. You don't speak unless spoken to. She prefers silence in the morning. You busy your hands instead. Open the wardrobe. Remove her corset from the shelf. It's bone white and stiff, tied with long, thin ribbons. Next, the chemise, lace-edged cotton. Then her petticoat, her stockings, garters, and the gown she chose yesterday. Pale green with tiny covered buttons down the back. You hold each piece neatly, preparing the order. You fold nothing. Folding creases the fabric. Everything must be fresh, smooth, perfect. She rises now, stretches delicately, says nothing. You help her out of her robe, then guide the chemise over her head. She raises her arms. You pull it gently into place. Next comes the corset. She turns, grasping the edge of the dressing table, bracing herself. You slide the corset around her, hook the busk in front. Then comes the lacing. Your fingers know the pattern. Cross, pull, tighten. Again and again. You hear her breath shorten. She's used to it. But still, every morning, it draws her in like a cage. She says, without turning, "Not too tight today. I have a luncheon." You obey. Adjust the tension. Tie it off with a bow. Then the petticoat. Then the gown. She holds up her arms again. You slide it down carefully, easing the sleeves into place. The buttons come last. 32 tiny closures down her spine. You fasten each one, slowly, silently. She sits now, and you begin brushing her hair. 100 strokes. That's the rule. You count without speaking. The brush moves steadily. Her hair is soft, and she sighs. Sometimes she talks during this part. Sometimes she doesn't. Today, she does. Did you hear about the Montgomerys? Their youngest is engaged to some cousin in Kent. She's barely 16. You nod slightly. Smile. Faintly. She goes on, speaking not to you, but through you. She talks of dances and luncheons and garden parties, and a dress that didn't fit right last Thursday. You listen. It's not required, but it helps. She notices when you don't. You finish her hair, twist it, pin it, a few soft curls around her face, the way she likes. You place the matching shoes by the bed, then step back. She looks at herself in the mirror, tilts her head. You wait. Then finally, she nods. You may go. You curtsy, barely, and leave without another sound. Down the hall, another bell rings. This one's for the master's valet. Different rhythm, different rules. The valet moves faster. There are trousers to press, collars to stiffen, cravats to tie. He doesn't knock. He enters with the clothes ready, laid out precisely on the chair near the hearth. The master is already awake, shaving. The valet checks the boots, polished, laced, gleaming. He brushes the coat one last time, front, back, sleeves, removes a single speck of lint, folds the pocket square just so, places the watch chain over the waistcoat. The master finishes, steps out, and begins to dress. The valet stands silently as each piece is put on, offered, accepted. Sometimes he speaks. Would sir prefer the gray gloves? Rain is expected around noon. I took the liberty of airing the coat by the fire. Never more than that. The conversation ends when the master nods. Sometimes the masters talk at them too, not always kindly. I said charcoal, not black. This collar's too stiff. You missed a spot. Here, look, right there. The valet apologizes, quietly, and fixes it. There is no room for pride, only precision. Downstairs, you pass Lady Margaret again, this time gliding into the morning room with her hat and gloves, perfectly dressed, every ribbon and pin in place. She doesn't glance at you, but you watch her float across the hall, hear her laugh gently at something the housekeeper says. You know, she didn't lace her own corset, didn't button her own shoes, didn't pin her own hair. That was you. That's always you. The clothes she wears are silk and lace and velvet. Yours are cotton, apron, plain shoes. Theirs are stitched with pearls. Yours have worn out seams. They go to luncheons and picnics and church in carriages. You iron the napkins they use. You scrub the floors they walk on. You press the sheets they sleep between. But for a few minutes each morning, you're near them, close enough to feel the perfume, to see the earrings sparkle, to catch the glint of gold on a cufflink, close enough to be invisible. You return to your quarters, change aprons, wipe your hands. Then the bell rings again, and another day begins. The 2 breakfasts. The first breakfast isn't yours. It begins before the sun has fully risen, when the grand dining room is still chilled with early light. The fire is already lit. You helped with that earlier. The silver has been polished, each fork and spoon laid out just right. The cloth is white, pressed flat, no wrinkles, no stains. There's a small vase in the center of the table. It holds exactly 3 yellow roses. Nothing more, nothing less. In the hallway outside, you wait with a folded napkin in your hands. Inside, the family is still quiet. Lord and Lady Whitcomb take their places first, seated without ceremony at the far end of the table. She always wears lavender in the morning. He always reads the newspaper before touching his plate. Their son enters later, hair uncombed, collar slightly askew. He never says, "Good morning." Fresh fruit is served first. Grapefruit slices, dusted with sugar. You carry the tray in slowly, carefully. You don't speak unless addressed. When the footman opens the door for you, you nod once. He nods back. That's all the exchange you're allowed. The fruit is followed by eggs, lightly poached, always soft, then sausages, then toast, hot and crisp, stacked in silver racks. You refill their teacups. You keep one hand behind your back. Your eyes watch the table, not the people. You anticipate what they need before they ask. He flips the page of the newspaper. She says, "These yolks are a bit firm today." You feel the heat rise in your neck, though she isn't looking at you. She's not even sure which servant is listening, but it doesn't matter. Someone will take the blame, maybe you. A crumb falls on the carpet. You see it. Memorize it. It'll have to be gone the moment breakfast ends. They speak softly. Conversations about cousins, politics, the new vicar's sermon. Their voices float above the food. They never mention the kitchen. They never wonder how the toast got hot, how the eggs arrived intact, how the fruit was peeled so cleanly. When they finish, they rise slowly, chairs scooting gently against the rug. The second they leave the room, the mood shifts. Now it's your turn, but not here, downstairs. Through the back passage, the warmth fades quickly. You move toward the servants' hall. Narrow benches, low ceilings, plain walls. The smell hits you before you reach the door. Oats. Heavy, thick porridge. Same every morning. Sometimes with a splash of milk, if it's been a good week. More often, just plain. You grab a bowl and sit at the end of the table. There's no time for talking. No time for second helpings. You eat with your eyes on the clock. Across from you, the kitchen maid eats too fast and spills a bit down her apron. She doesn't notice. The hall boy gulps his down in 5 spoonfuls flat. He still has coals to carry. You hear someone coughing behind you. Maybe the scullery maid. She hasn't slept much. No linen napkins here. No gleaming silver. Just thick ceramic bowls and tin spoons. The table rocks slightly when someone leans too hard. Still, you eat. You eat because you have to. The next task begins in minutes. The cook enters just as you scrape the last spoonful from the bowl. She's already shouting instructions. Someone forgot the fish for luncheon. The milk delivery is late. The master wants lamb tonight instead of beef. That means another trip to the market. More peeling, more trimming, more sweat. You stand. Breakfast is over. You wash your own bowl at the sink. Cold water only, one cloth for all the dishes. Then you return to the dining room upstairs, where the real breakfast happened. It's quiet now. The fire still burns gently in the hearth. The plates are half finished. Toast crusts pushed to one side. A broken yolk left to harden on the edge of the porcelain. You begin to clear, one plate at a time. Knife, fork, napkin. You stack carefully. You wipe the crumbs, sweep the floor. Every detail is accounted for. Nothing gets missed, not even the smudge on the rim of the water glass. The footman helps with the heavy things, the platters, the serving trays. He doesn't speak much. You don't either. In the pantry, you rinse the silver in warm water, one piece at a time. Each knife is dried with a soft cloth, each spoon checked for streaks. The silver drawer must gleam. If it doesn't, the butler will know. And if the butler knows, the housekeeper knows. And if she knows, you'll hear about it. You hear footsteps upstairs. A door closes gently. They're gone, off to the drawing room. You look down at your hands. There's porridge under your nail. You scrape it off before you polish the final fork. Then, without a word, you return to the kitchen. The menu for luncheon has been written. Potatoes to peel, carrots to dice, meat to season. The second, breakfast fades behind you, and the day carries on, keeping up appearances. The house looks perfect. It's supposed to. It has to. But you know the truth. You see the corners. You see the dust before it lands, because it's your job to erase it before anyone else sees it. Your hands smell faintly of soap. The rough kind, the kind that dries the skin and never really leaves. You carry a basket filled with rags, cloths, polish, and brushes, each with its own purpose. One for wood, one for brass, one for marble, one just for the baseboards. You begin in the grand hall. The chandelier above doesn't just sparkle on its own. Every crystal drop must be cleaned by hand, one at a time. You've done it before, carefully, quietly, on a ladder so tall it sways when you breathe. Each piece must gleam, but not squeak. A squeak means streaks, and streaks mean you start again. You move to the staircase, wide, polished, used only by the family. Your brush is small, bristles stiff. You scrub the edge of each step, removing scuff marks that no one ever notices, except the housekeeper. She notices everything. You go over the steps twice just to be sure. You hear a door creak down the hall. You pause, just for a second. A lady's maid passes by. She doesn't speak, only nods. Her shoes click softly on the floor. She's heading upstairs to press dresses. You move on. There are vases to dust, mirrors to wipe, Not a single fingerprint can remain. You carry a cloth in your apron pocket just for mirrors. No lines, no smudges. Even the frames get polished. The carved roses, the curling vines. You run your fingers along the bottom edge and check for missed spots. The drawing room comes next. It smells of lavender and afternoon tea. The furniture is old, but elegant. The kind with carved legs and fabric that stains if you look at it wrong. You brush lint from the cushions. You kneel to check under the sofa, just in case. Last week, a child's marble rolled under there. You found it before the governess did. That was lucky. The rug must be beaten, but not too loudly. If the family is home, noise travels. You wait for the right moment. When the hallway is quiet, then take it out to the service yard. You beat gently, just enough to lift the dust, not enough to wake the baby upstairs. Back inside, you clean the banister. It curves like a ribbon up the main staircase, always gleaming. You run the cloth along the rail, fingers following every dip and curve. It's warm from sunlight and the hands of people who never look down. You notice the smudge near the bottom. A child's fingerprint, maybe. You polish it away. The hallway beyond holds portraits. Generations of the family stare down at you. Powdered wigs, stern expressions, painted dogs. Their frames are gold-leafed, delicate. You dust around them with a soft brush. Never touch the canvas. One room smells faintly of tobacco. The study, the master's private space. You're allowed in only when he's out. His chair must be set at the right angle. The inkstand must be filled. The blotter clean. You run aside a cloth over the bookshelves, careful not to shift the order. He notices if a volume is out of place. You kneel again, this time at the hearth. You remove ash from a fire that hasn't been lit in 2 days. Still, it must be clean. You brush the stone, wipe the grate, replace the coal bucket neatly beside it. It's full, just in case he decides he wants a fire after dinner. Upstairs, the bedrooms are waiting. Each bed is made already, but not well enough. You smooth the covers again. Check the pillow edges. Fluff. Straighten. Tuck. You dust the nightstand, wipe the handles on the wardrobe, and sweep behind the door. Always behind the door. In one room, a lady's glove lies forgotten on the chair. You fold it gently and leave it on her vanity. She'll never ask how it got there. She may not even notice, but it would have been wrong to ignore it. The windows take time. There are 32 on the main floor. Each pane must be cleaned inside and out. You press your face close to the glass and see the garden beyond. Roses, trimmed hedges, a fountain. You haven't walked through it in months. That's not your place. You clean the glass so others can admire the view. The brass door handles are last. You polish them until they shine like coins. Not just clean, brilliant. You buff until your arm aches, then step back and check the reflection. If you can't see your own tired eyes in the brass, you haven't finished. You wipe your hands on your apron and glance at the clock. It's nearly time for luncheon. That means new footprints on the clean floor, new crumbs on the linen, new smudges on the water glasses. You'll clean it all again, because that's the rule of the house. It must appear effortless. The flowers must look freshly picked. The fireplace must look unused. The silver must shine as if no one has ever touched it. You are the quiet force behind the beauty, the hidden hand behind the order, and the work never stops. Rules you must never break. Don't speak unless spoken to. That's not just a suggestion, it's the first rule you learn. Quietly, sometimes without anyone ever saying it out loud. You feel it, like a pressure in the room, in the way someone glances at you if you speak too soon, in the hush that falls when footsteps echo from upstairs. You are not here to be heard. When you walk the halls, your steps are silent, heels pressed down first, toes soft, no clattering, no sudden turns. Your presence must be invisible, like wind through a corridor, felt but never seen. Don't look the master in the eye. You've been told this one, directly, firmly. Your gaze should rest on the floor, or just past his shoulder, or on your folded hands. It's not rudeness, it's the opposite. Eye contact suggests equality, and this house does not pretend that such a thing exists. Even the guests have their own silence. The ones who arrive with feathered hats and long gloves, trailing perfume and opera programs, you learn not to look at them too long, just enough to help with coats, to take umbrellas, to nod politely. You're part of the house, like the wallpaper or the clock ticking in the hall. Below stairs, there's another world, a narrow one. It has its own kind of class system. Cook, for example, is queen of the kitchen. Her word is final. The butler is king of the wine cellar and the silver. The housekeeper rules over linen and laundry. Then come the senior maids and footmen, the junior ones, the scullery maids and errand boys. Everyone knows their rank. You can feel it in the way people move. Even laughter has rules. It's not forbidden, just rare. It slips out at the wrong time, and suddenly the room feels cold. You learn to keep it small, quiet, folded into your sleeve. The dining room below stairs, the servants' hall, is where you're allowed to talk, but not too loudly, not too freely. You're watched there too. Every mistake is remembered. You once spilled tea while carrying a tray. Not much, just a few drops. No one shouted, but the butler saw. He said nothing, simply raised an eyebrow, and the next time trays were handed out, yours was smaller. A signal. You were trusted slightly less. Another girl was dismissed last year. You don't know what she did. No one said. But one morning, her cot was empty. Her apron hung on a hook, and someone else made the beds that week. You never asked why. Questions are a kind of noise, and noise makes you stand out. You keep your apron clean, your hair tied tight, your words to a minimum. Don't linger in doorways. Don't be seen in the garden when you're not assigned there. Don't take more than your share at dinner. Don't forget your place during church, when the family sits in the front pew and the staff at the back. Even worship has levels, and never, ever gossip where you can be overheard. Voices travel through walls, through vents, up staircases. A whisper can climb higher than any servant. There are bells for everything. A soft ring from the drawing room, a chime from upstairs, a double tap from the breakfast parlor. Each one has a meaning. You learn them quickly. You run when they call, sometimes before the second note. Even sounds. To hesitate is to invite attention, the wrong kind. Your uniform speaks before you do. It tells everyone who you are, and who you are not. Buttons must be polished, cuffs crisp, no stains, no loose threads. If a guest sees a spot on your apron, they won't speak of it, but the lady of the house might, quietly, sharply, later, behind closed doors. At meals you serve with your eyes down. You pour tea without looking at the table. You memorize preferences. Milk before tea, never after. 1 sugar cube, never 2. You remember who dislikes lemon, who prefers marmalade to jam. It matters. It all matters. The strange thing is, you get used to it. The rules become part of your rhythm. You wake, you dress, you work, you obey. You think before every movement, every breath. You begin to feel the temperature of a room the moment you enter it, whether it's safe to speak or better to remain still. It isn't fear, exactly. It's awareness. You are a servant, and that means you serve, not just with your hands, but with your silence, your posture, your restraint. No one tells you these things on the first day. They let the house teach you, and the house always does. Secrets in the servants' hall. Downstairs, behind the thick wooden door and heavy curtains, lies the servants' hall, the one place where the house's endless rules loosen, just a little. It's a room warmed by a small fire that crackles in the hearth, soft and steady, chasing the cold stone walls away. The benches and tables are plain, worn smooth by years of elbows and elbows' weight. Here, the clatter of silverware and quiet chatter replace the silence that fills the grand halls upstairs. This is where the hidden lives unfold. Romance, whispered between hurried glances and stolen moments. A smile exchanged over a shared loaf of bread. Hands brushing as they pass. Fleeting touches that hold the weight of dreams. The maid who sings softly when no one is listening. Her voice light but full of longing, filling the corners of the room with something almost like hope. There is rivalry too. Quiet competition in who finishes their work first, who gets the better shift, who earns a nod from the housekeeper, the footman who reads by candlelight late into the night, his pages curled and worn, escaping into worlds far beyond the manor's walls. You might catch him with a secret smile, a line memorized, a dream carried in his pocket. Here, behind the uniforms and the endless duties, the servants are human. They laugh quietly at jokes no one upstairs would understand. They share news from the village, births, deaths, market days. They speak of things they cannot say aloud in the drawing rooms, where every word is measured and weighed. A cook sharpens knives and shares stories of childhood kitchens far away. A scullery maid, younger than most, daydreams of distant places beyond the estate's boundaries. They speak of loves lost and found, of letters written in secret, folded carefully and hidden beneath floorboards. In this room, beneath the hum of a house that never truly sleeps, the weight of their roles feels lighter for a moment. The house's strict casts dissolve briefly, replaced by something softer, a shared understanding, a bond forged by hours spent in silence, moving unseen. Yet even here, there are rules. Voices don't rise too high. Laughter doesn't burst too loud, because the manor listens, and walls have ears. Still, in this room, secrets live, quiet acts of rebellion, silent wishes. The flicker of candlelight dances across faces worn by work, but bright with stories waiting to be told. Preparing for dinner, the afternoon drags on quietly, but down below, time moves fast, and every second counts. Preparing for dinner is no small task. It's hours of careful work, sweat, and speed, all for a meal you'll never taste. Upstairs, the rooms transform slowly. Candles are placed just so. Silverware gleams under crystal chandeliers, and the air fills with the faint scent of flowers and fresh linens. Elegance is expected, flawless, polished, perfect. The family will gather soon, dressed in their finest, voices soft and controlled, laughter practiced. Downstairs, it's a very different world. The servants rush from room to room, folding napkins into precise shapes, sometimes fans, sometimes simple rectangles, always identical, each crease sharp, each fold symmetrical. There is no time for mistakes. A crooked napkin could mean a reprimand, or worse, a cold glance that will follow you through the evening. Dishes are warmed in long, noisy kitchens. Pans clang, fires roar, and pots bubble quietly. The cook commands her staff with clipped orders. "Hurry," she says, "and keep it clean." There is no tasting, no lingering over smells or flavors. The food is prepared to impress, not to nourish those who work below stairs. It will be served on heavy china, eaten slowly with delicate cutlery. Wine bottles are uncorked and carefully decanted into crystal carafes. The butler moves with practiced grace, polishing each glass until it catches the light just right. Yet his hands are steady with years of work. He doesn't sip, doesn't savor. His role is to serve, not indulge. Every sound below is hushed, but urgent. The soft rustle of skirts as maids carry platters. The tap-tap of polished shoes on wooden floors. The quick exchange of words between footmen. Barely above a whisper, silence isn't just a rule. It's the rhythm of the night. Sweat beads on brows and drips down backs, but no one complains. There is no time. A single misstep could throw the whole evening into chaos. No one sees the hours of work that vanish beneath the surface, the glistening surfaces, the carefully arranged flowers, the perfectly folded napkins. They all hide the endless labor, the invisible hands that make the evening possible. As the family gathers above, surrounded by light and luxury, the servants retreat to their own hidden corners. They rest briefly, catching their breath, before the bell rings again and the cycle starts anew. Serving without sound, you move like a ghost through the grand dining room, your footsteps soft, almost inaudible, on the polished floor. The heavy curtains block the noise of the outside world, but inside, every breath and every step is filled with quiet purpose. You refill glasses before they are empty, always watching, always anticipating. A subtle tilt of the hand, the gentle pour of wine or water, careful not to spill a single drop. The clink of crystal is a sound you've learned to avoid. Crumbs gather on the fine linen tablecloth, but your keen eyes catch each one before the guests notice. A quick sweep with a silver crumb tray, almost invisible. Your hands are steady, practiced, moving with the grace of years spent in the background. Your presence is meant to be unseen. The guests talk, laugh, and sometimes argue, but they rarely glance your way. You are part of the room's furniture, the soft rustle of fabric, the slight shuffle of shoes. Only when something goes wrong do eyes fall upon you. A misplaced glass, a missed napkin, a sudden spill. Then the silence breaks with sharp words or a cold stare. The silence of service is its own kind of art. You learn to read the room without speaking, to move just behind the guest's line of sight, out of the way, but always ready, to carry heavy platters without a single clatter, to respond to subtle signals, the slight raise of a hand, the tilt of a head. Your voice is unnecessary, your footsteps unheard. Sometimes a guest will drop a piece of silverware or murmur a request, and you'll appear like a shadow, quick, efficient, and silent. You replace what's needed and retreat before anyone can acknowledge you. It's a delicate balance, present enough to serve flawlessly, invisible enough to be forgotten. At moments, your breath catches behind your mask of calm. The weight of stillness is heavy, but you remind yourself, this is your role. The house demands it. You are part of a silent orchestra where every movement must be precise, every moment controlled. Even the candles seem to bow in respect to the quiet. And when the last course is cleared and the guests rise from the table, you slip away as if you were never there at all. Night work and final chores. The house has fallen silent above, its grand halls dark and still. But downstairs, the night's work is just beginning. You move from room to room, tending the last fires flickering in the hearths. Each flame, carefully stoked, coaxed back to life to keep the chill at bay until morning. The smell of smoke and warm embers mingles with the faint scent of polished wood and old stone. Laundry baskets, heavy with the day's clothes, are gathered quietly. The fabric soft but worn. You carry them through narrow corridors, careful not to disturb the few souls still awake. The weight of the linens presses against your arms, a physical reminder of the endless cycle you live within. Locks are checked on every door, secure, tight, a fortress against the night outside. The manor must stay protected, its secrets kept safe until dawn. Your feet ache, muscles heavy with exhaustion, but there is no rest yet. Only when the last candle flickers low do you finally allow yourself to breathe. The world shrinks to the narrow, cold bed tucked beneath the floorboards. Your own small space, humble and plain. You collapse onto the thin mattress, your uniform discarded carelessly beside you. The clock hands move past midnight, and you know sleep will be short. Your mind drifts, carrying you far from the cold stone walls and endless chores. Fields stretch, wide beneath open skies. Fresh air fills your lungs. There, freedom feels just within reach, a world away from the manor's unyielding grasp. You dream of home, of family, of a life without uniforms and silence. Yet morning will come too soon, bringing with it the steady rhythm of footsteps, the sharp orders, the endless work. For now, you rest, safe, if only for a little while, who you were before all this, before the cold stone walls and endless corridors, before the heavy uniform and the unspoken rules. There was another life. You might have been a young girl from a small, poor village, a place where dirt roads wound between thatched cottages, where the air smelled of fresh earth and wood smoke. You played barefoot in the fields, chasing butterflies and listening to the stories told by your grandmother at night. Your hands knew the feel of rough wool and worn leather, your days filled with simple chores and the laughter of siblings. Or perhaps you were a boy whose family lost their land, forced to leave behind the farm that had been theirs for generations. You watched as your father packed the last few belongings, the weight of uncertainty heavy in the air. You dreamed of better days, but reality pressed hard. There were no easy choices, only survival. Before the manor, before the silent footsteps and polished floors, you had stories. Stories full of color and noise, of hardship and hope. You remember the warmth of your mother's cooking, the crackle of a fire outside a humble home. You remember the village market, bustling and bright, where voices called out and bargains were made. These memories live deep inside, even as the manor's cold stone tries to push them away. What was given up to survive is a heavy cost. You left behind the freedom to speak your mind, to rest when tired, to dream without limits. You traded the open sky for ceilings that loomed, the wide fields for narrow corridors. Your name became a role, a maid, a footman, a cook, not the person you were. And yet, those early stories remain. They are the hidden roots beneath the manor's grandeur, the quiet pulse of life beneath the silence. They remind you that you are more than the uniform, more than the endless chores. You carry a history that cannot be erased. In the quiet moments, when the house sleeps and your thoughts wander, those memories shine like a secret light. What history remembers, the manor still stands today, its towering walls and grand windows catching the light just as they did over a century ago. Now, it is a museum, or perhaps a luxury hotel, filled with visitors who wander its vast rooms in wonder. They marvel at the glittering chandeliers, the polished wooden staircases, and the rich tapestries that hang on the walls. But what do they truly see? They see the portraits of the family who once lived there, faces frozen in oil and gold, forever dignified and proud. They see the shining silverware laid out for formal dinners and the glittering glassware that caught the candlelight just so. They see beauty, luxury, and power. What they don't see are the countless hands that dusted those chandeliers until they sparkled, the tired backs bent low, scrubbing floors until they gleamed, the quiet feet that moved through the shadows, unseen but always present, the names of those servants, maids, cooks, footmen, and valets, have mostly been lost to time. They do not fill history books or hang in gilded frames. They remain anonymous, ghosts behind the grandeur. Yet their labor mattered. Every polished surface, every folded napkin, every flickering candle was the result of their tireless work. Their lives, filled with quiet endurance and hidden strength, shaped the world behind the scenes. The manor's splendor depends on them. You wouldn't survive a day in their shoes. The weight of the uniform, the endless rules, the silence demanded, the cold mornings, the long hours, the sharp eyes watching your every move. It was a life of little rest and little recognition. But for just a moment, as you stepped into their world, you walked beside them, You felt the chill of the servants' quarters, the urgency of the unseen work, the fragile hope beneath it all. History may forget their names, but not their stories. They were the invisible threads, woven through the fabric of a grand era, the silent heartbeat of the manor's life. And now, through these memories, they live again. Now, as the day softly fades away, take a deep breath and feel the quiet settle around you. The world slows down, just like the servant's footsteps after long hours of tireless work. The bustle has ended, the chores are done, and the heavy weight of the day lifts gently from your shoulders. Rest is a gift, one that those who served in the manor could only dream of in stolen moments. Yet, even in the silence, their strength and dignity remain, woven into the very walls and shadows you've walked through today. Let go of the day's details, the cold stone walls, the endless polish, the whispered commands. Let them dissolve like the flicker of candlelight, soft and fading. You are safe now, warm, at peace, wrapped in comfort far from the echoing halls and hidden burdens. As you close your eyes, imagine the gentle hush of the manor's night, quiet, still, and full of stories, whispered only to the stars. Thank you for joining us on this journey, stepping quietly into a world few see, but many live. If you found calm in this story, if you felt a touch of history's heartbeat, please like this video and subscribe to Boring History for Sleep. There are many more stories waiting to carry you away, to places both distant and near, to times long gone, but never forgotten. Sleep well, and until next time, may your dreams be soft and your rest deep.